Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. Hope you guys are all well on your Sunday morning. On today's show, then, we'll be looking back at a bit of a frustrating result up at Blackpool yesterday. The Addicts taking a 2-goal lead early in the second half, but unable to hold on to all 3 points. Blackpool striking back twice inside the final 15 minutes or so. The equaliser coming just 2 minutes from time. So 2 points dropped yesterday, but the Addicts now on the same amount of points as the team in sixth, just outside the top six on goal difference. So have a look back at that game. Joining me to do that, first up, top right, Sue Gallop. How you doing, Sue?
I'm good. I'm all right. I hope you're all right as well.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I actually made reasonable time yesterday, considering I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning last season. I was quite pleased to be back at about 11 o'clock I got last night, which is exactly 5 hours earlier than I did last season. So that was a bit of a result. Also joining us, bottom of the screen there, is Benji Clegg. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, mate, I'm good, thank you. Good to hear you got back all right. Yeah, I was just frustrated with group chats yesterday. Man of Charlton group chats that were like, after we went 2-0 up, sending screenshots of the table. I was like, no, what are you doing that for? Wait till the end of the game, then celebrate. And then it was like, oh. But anyway, it was an eventful second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. I had someone asking for the graph when we went 2-0 up on Twitter, but luckily I didn't point it out. Although, to be fair, and I'm sure he'll grass me up later on in the show, Stuart, who's in the chat currently, I DM'd him at 2-0 saying, what's the record for the most amount of clean sheets we've kept in one season? Press send, and within 5 seconds we conceded a goal. So it's partly my fault as well. So there we go. So on today's show, we'll hear the goals shortly. We're going to hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. We're going to hear from Matty Godden later on in the show as well. And this is just something for you guys to think about for later on in the show. Just a little fun topic, hopefully. So Matty revealed to me yesterday that he's been given a nickname by some of his fellow players, and it's a nickname that actually resonates with a lot of Charlton fans from years gone by, and you'll realise why when he says it. But I was just trying to think, what are the great Charlton nicknames we've ever had? So annoyingly this morning, all I could think of was Spongefoot for Simon Church. But if you guys can remember any good nicknames we've had for players back in the day, let me know. There, Stuart says, a bit like people asking about it. So he did immediately grass me up. There we go, about clean sheets. So yeah, if you can think of any good Charlton nicknames, have a think, and we'll talk about that maybe later on in the show. We'll talk transfers as well. We ain't got much to say. I did ask Nathan what he made of or what the transfer situation is yesterday. Right, morning to everyone in the chat. Mike Salmon, first one in there. Hi, really good away day yesterday. Good to finally meet you, Louis. I met Mike at Preston yesterday. It was great to see you, Mike. Other Mike's in there. All Hell Will Let Loose is in there. James, Andrew, Paul, Energized Personal Fitness is in there. It was a free advertising there. Bob's in there. John, let us know your thoughts on yesterday's game, the frustrations, the mistakes that have cost us goals there. Not often that we chuck away points from leading positions. That's something we spoke about during the week, and that's happened as well yesterday. Let us know your thoughts on what happened yesterday. Can you try and contextualise it as well? That's what I found myself trying to do at full time. Like, I was gutted at full time because it was a thrown away, and we even had that chance to win it at the end with the 3-on-2, where Miles, I don't know what Miles was thinking, unfortunately, but it's a point on the road that I think a lot of us said we would have taken before. It's just the manner it came in that was quite frustrating. And before we hear the goals, Sue, just your overall thoughts on yesterday?
Well, like as everyone knows, I'm always the the glass half full one, aren't I? So I think when you look at our run of form recently, a point is not a bad result. Going somewhere that's really tough to go, and I think obviously the nature of that point is disappointing, but at the same time it's another point on the board. So I feel like we've just got to take the positives again. We've got a week off now, so obviously Nathan will be working again on those sort of little tweaks where the little mistakes, well, they're big mistakes because they conceded 2 goals, but those small errors that are made that we haven't sort of made for quite a while, he's just got to pick them up and try not to overthink it too much and move on to next Saturday. But yeah, I'm all right with a point. I think I probably would have took that at the beginning of the day. So I'm not too disheartened by it. As long as we're notching them points up, like you do in your graph, Louis, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean the graph did look a little healthier midway through the second half, but that's what happens. We take the point. As you say, it's another point on the board. It's like Nathan Muller is in the room with us. Let's have a listen back to the goals from yesterday on Charlton TV. Steve Brown was alongside Greg Stubley.
Small on the right-hand side, goes on a run, Thierry Small. Good pace shown, crossing the penalty area to try and get something to it. Comes down to Doherty with a strike and it's cleared off the line. Berry for Charlton, flicked in by Matty Godden. And Charlton take the lead. Once again, Thierry Small creating the opportunity down the right-hand side. The ball was parried by Tyra. Shot coming in from Doherty was initially cleared, came back out. The shot was diverted goalwards, and there was Godden anticipating and scores again for the Addicts.
He likes that distance. Listen, it's excellent wing play from Thierry Small, and that's on his weaker foot, and he delivers it into a perfect slot. Keeper comes, tries to make the claim and parries it into a very good area for us, but it's only a good area because we've gambled and we've put players in the right spot who can come on and keep that phase of play going. Doherty does the right thing, keeps the strike down low and across, and Berry does the same. Shot low and across, and that allows Godden, who's turned into a bit of a sniffer dog inside that 18-yard box, to tap home from a very similar distance than he did the other night. Charlton
are not scoring. Doherty bringing the ball forward again here. On the left-hand side is Campbell, onside in the penalty area. Tyrese Campbell, low cross, and it's flicked in again, and Charlton get their second. It's an own goal in the end. It came off in as Ollie Casey, and Charlton players running over to the away stand, celebrate. Although the referee just wants to discuss. Oh, he's just booked the goalkeeper. The goal will stand. It looked for a moment he was going to discuss things with assistant referee. The goal's given, and Charlton are 2-0 up.
Yeah, not sure what's happened there, but definitely Tyra, the Blackpool goalkeeper, has been booked. And I'm going to go that is an absolute assist for Tyrese Campbell. Put it up against his name for me. Love it when he's 1v1 attacking players in the box.
The fire's there. Good strength to hold off Doherty. Ball inside, looks for Morgan. Morgan, who's got Silvera making a good run. Silvera controls, cuts inside. Silvera will go for goal, and it's beyond Maynard Brewer. And Blackpool have a way back in this match. The substitute Silvera cutting inside on his right foot. Just enough, beats Ashley Maynard Brewer. And Charlton will look to react.
Yeah. Got to give a fire a bit of credit there for getting away from Doherty. And the inside pass, which has allowed the switch from Albie Morgan to the far side to Silvera, where he's wide open. And again, could we have engaged a little bit quicker? Could we got a little bit tighter to force him on the outside? He was comfortable on the right foot. He's got his shot away, and it's just crept in. But that's come from 24 yards out.
For a ball high in the air. Comes down, and Nike couldn't win the header. Gillespie takes a touch, and it's a wayward touch, and there's a chance here for Beasley. Beasley strikes off the bar, comes down to Ennis. Ennis, can he finish? He can! And Blackpool from 2-0 down have equalised. There's a mistake at the back. As the ball came forward, Gillespie wanted to take a touch. It was pounced upon by Beasley, whose initial effort hit the bar, came back to Ennis, and on his debut, he gets Blackpool an equaliser.
Yeah, it's just decision-making processes again. State of the game where it's at. It's not a ball you should try and control, really. He'll bitterly regret that decision as he's going down the tunnel in about 10 minutes' time.
Yeah, I mean, Macca has to be putting that ball in the Irish Sea, Ben. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Frustrating the way it ended. You know, we got ourselves in such a good position. Overall, what did you make? The performance itself, can you take bits of it? I thought first half they edged it. I mean, there weren't clear-cut chances, but they certainly had more of the half chances. They had that huge centre-half Baggett who had that header that went across. Was it Sonny Carey who hit the volley on the run, which if that had gone in would have been a spectacular goal. Like to get it as close as he did on the run was really good technique. But you know, I thought it was tight with them edging it. Second half, obviously, we exploded into life, and then you expect to see the game out from there, and we normally do. So. Why do you think it didn't quite go right yesterday? Was it a couple of moments of drifting off in defensively? Obviously, the second one was a real glaring one, but the first one they had space to run through us as well.
Yeah, it's quite hard to put your finger on, really. I think when you're 2-0 up in the game, and as we've said so many times this season, when we take the lead, we normally see it out. And like the Bristol Rovers game in the week, we saw that out quite comfortably. But as you said, I think you look at the result and you look at the performance on a whole, and you think, all right, they probably did deserve something from the game, because that first half, if you were to look back at the highlights, we're not seen in the highlight package because we didn't do enough to test their goalkeeper. I know Berry had a decent chance where he fired over the bar, but they were the ones testing us in the first half. Yep, it would have been a good finish for Carey to score that goal, and Maynard Brewer makes one good save. It wasn't like they were battering us, was it? But the play was coming from them. And then in that second half, we just slowly grew into it, and we got the ball to Thierry. We know how lively he is. We know how he scares defenders. Obviously, that helps us get the first goal. So overall, obviously, I feel the same as you. It's gutting, it's frustrating. But as well, it's kind of good to feel this way. It's good that we're actually like getting in these games and feeling like this, and I'm sure the squad will as well, and hopefully go and right the wrong, like after the Rotherham game when we saw our performances after that. But yeah, I think if you look at a bigger picture, we're still, I mean, if we win that game yesterday, we're like 2 points in the playoffs, and it's just like, that's crazy. We've got to remember where we've come from. And yeah, and I think the bits where we've come from before were built on the foundations of a good defence. As Sue said earlier, Gillespie wasn't making those big mistakes. Lloyd wasn't making that big mistake last week at Rotherham. Mitchell wasn't making a big mistake like he did against Preston. All right, these are creeping in. Are they creeping in because we've added a Kane Ramsey in there, a different player? Are they creeping in because we're changing formations a bit? We're going 4 and then a 5 and then a 3. I don't know, but we've got to expect these mistakes because we are a team that has built a lot this season on coming together, building this defence. And yeah, look, Blackpool had to try and go for the win yesterday. Their home form is dreadful. And when they smelt blood, didn't they, after that first goal? And yeah, unfortunately, we'll look back at errors and we'll look back at substitutions and say Jones did this, Jones did that. But ultimately, it's quite trigger thinking from us. We've got to look at a bigger picture and go, oh yeah, did Chucks change the game? Did he not? Or are we just all heaping onto something rather than looking at the bigger picture of that we're actually still in good form and we just slipped up yesterday?
Yeah, and it was frustrating. I mean, the mistake. I mean, you said about the mistakes creeping in. So Macca has that in his locker, unfortunately. And the worst thing about yesterday, I thought it was the best game he's had in a while. I think they had that Apter on the right hand side. On their right, on our left, and twice in the first half he came across and dealt with him. You know, I thought he was doing that really well, but he has an error in his locker. He maybe got away with a few over the last few weeks, but Dudley says to all central defenders, not just Macca, don't let the ball bounce. Safety first, head it away, clear your lines, simple. Isaac says Gillespie has made so many mistakes similar to the one that gave the goal away. Did it a few times against Shrewsbury. It's just obviously this time it's gone against him. Mike Salmon saying Gillespie is making far too many mistakes, and again it will cost us the more times he does this. I mean, it's a tough one because he's playing pretty much every game. He can win a header, he can do this sort of stuff, but then he can do that too. And what we don't want is another Michael Hector. You know, I didn't want the first one, to be fair, but by the time he was with us for a long time, you saw what Heck was about. Like he could do stuff okay, but there's no point being good for 80% of the game if you're then going to have an absolute howler. So he's got to try and cut those out of his game somehow. I mean, he's playing every week, so he's going to get enough chances to try and put this right. But you can't be doing that what he's done yesterday. He's not the only one who's made a mistake on the pitch as well. I'm not, but it's led to a goal, so it's going to be highlighted.
Yeah, and I think if I'm honest, like as a fan base, we always have to have a bit of a target in terms of who we put all our frustrations out on. And I think Maka seems to be that one this season. Like, I think I feel like his game has got a lot better this season, and he is making less of those mistakes. And I think with confidence, he's going to grow more. And I think in that respect, if we've got that expectation that he's going to make a mistake, and this is probably a little bit of a hippie thought, but he's probably going to feel that vibe, and maybe that puts him on edge a little bit. So when something like that happens, like yesterday, that normally he might have sort of just whacked it away, he's just then just not dealt with it properly. And I do feel for him. I really feel for him, because no one intends to make those mistakes, do they? So it's just, he seems to be that sort of, I can't remember the name for it at the moment, but like that one that everyone...
The scapegoat. You're saying he's the scapegoat,
yeah. Yeah. Because like I've already seen in the chat, other players have made similar or howlers in other games, and they've been forgiven straight away. Maka just keeps getting battered for it.
I think that it might be to do with consistency, though, because I think, like someone mentioned earlier in the chat, I can't find it now, but apologies. But someone said, Lloyd made a mistake. Where was it? At Rotherham, didn't he? As Ben said as well. But the reason he doesn't get hammered for it is because he doesn't do it every week. Whereas Gillespie, I mean, he's got away with a few, but every now and then there's one that goes over his head. There's one that he's miscontrolled, and obviously it's led to a goal. So I understand, like, there's every team, every club has scapegoats. It always made me laugh. Years ago, I went to watch a Chelsea game with one of my mates who's a Chelsea fan. He was telling me, I think he was saying, like, Azpilicueta. He was saying, he's everyone like. I might have misremembered which player he was talking about. So everyone thinks he's rubbish. And I was thinking, like, I thought he was like a world-class footballer, but obviously every club has that. But at the same time, I think you earn those nicknames, and I think Maka's got that in his locker, unfortunately. Dan says he isn't a centre back you'd have in a promotion-winning team. Too many mistakes in his locker. But Sam said that the mistake was bad, but he was delivering great diagonals all game. As David points out, we have League One players. If they never make a mistake, they'll be playing at a high level. Obviously, I do say that a lot of our players are playing for us for a good reason, unfortunately. Gillespie makes a mistake every game. Sadly, he got punished for it yesterday. That's what Stuart had to say as well. So it was hugely frustrating. I mean, there was another mistake in the goal anyway, because we didn't win the header that went forward. I think Doherty off the top of my head, but I could be corrected. It might have been Chuck's. I can't remember since I watched the thing back as well. But the first goal as well, Ben, like I said, we were open. Like again, I want to see it back again, because it felt like it sort of crept in a bit over Ash's hand. Although when I didn't put it in the clip, but if you listen back to Greg's commentary yesterday, he suggested there might have been a deflection, which I couldn't see with the naked eye. But again, we were just really open there, which again, that's not us at all. Like, goals from outside the area were a problem for quite a long stage of this season, but we seem to have cut that out. But people running through the middle of our midfield doesn't seem to happen as often these days. It was a weird goal for us to concede, and even though I thought actually the next 10 minutes after that we reacted quite well for a bit, obviously it means that it only now takes one mistake for us to chuck away the 2 points.
Yeah, you're right. I think we looked at the Rotherham game and we were saying how some of those goals were quite uncharacteristic goals where they just came through the pitch and our defence couldn't deal with their pacey attack. And that first goal you look at and you think, yeah, that's creeped them back into the game. And I kind of freeze framed it when Albie plays it across to Silvera, who scores a goal. And Jones is in no man's land. I mean, they have literally got 3-on-2 and he's sprinting back. Ramsey's nowhere near their guy. And I know we'll pick up on Gillespie going to clear the ball and miss it. But also, I think Jones as a manager, he'll look at that and go, why on earth did he have so much space? Where was Thierry Small at the right wing back? Where's Ramsey? Like, there's so much space in between them for the goal. So whereas fans, we're quite quick to go, as a fan, oh, he missed the ball, that's dreadful. And don't get me wrong, it is. I think as a manager, you'll look and go, how on earth did he have that much space to not only control the ball and then just size up his body and take that shot? And yeah, I think people look at Ash, but it's a funny shot where it doesn't seem to go far, like fast. It's not a powerful shot, but that bounce just before Ash dives down, I think does him. And see, it's in the corner of the goal. It's quite a nice little move from them. So fair play, like they counted on us quite well for two quick ball forwards. But I think that's more of a goal where Jones will look at and go, what on earth are we doing? We've got a great structure in defence. We've had it so far this season. And again, as I was saying yesterday, is that down to Kane Ramsey playing at right centre-back and Thierry Small playing at right wing-back? Players not playing in usual positions where it's stretched us. And they've exploited that. So fair play. It's a good goal. It's good. But I think Jones will look at that goal more than saying, oh, McCauley, you should have booted that ball out, because that's not a problem. He knows he's got to do that. And yeah, all right, there's a lot of times in our games lately where you'd say, I'd say with McCauley, it's not like he's positionally out of position. I'd say he gifts the opposition a silly pass away. But as Sam said earlier, McCauley is the player in our team that we give the ball to play nice balls during the game. So he is sometimes going to be exploited for that because he's the one making those passes. So I think if you look at it collective, that first goal is one that we should look at more, because that is earlier on in the season, we was conceding goals from outside the box because we weren't quick enough or we were open enough. And that creeped in yesterday. And I think that is one Nathan will look at more than that second goal.
That's such a good point and well put as well. Like as fan, I think I said it to Greg at full time. Like Macca's going to get hammered for that goal because it's so obvious where it's gone wrong. And look, don't do it again. That's what Nathan will go and say to Macca. Don't do that again. Whereas for the first goal, it's a structure thing, and well, you'll hear the interview with Nathan in a minute. He refers very specifically about how he tries to hammer in that structure and that position into that team. So really well put there, Ben. Yeah, I mean, Colin's saying, I think this was the thing I saw earlier, Gillespie made one mistake, but he had played really well and people on his back. Lloyd Jones makes a similar mistake, costing us at Rotherham, and no one complains. Give him a break. Stuart says that second goal is where you need a sort of a Les Berry type at the back. Paul says we were cruising, some complacency crept in, and the timing of the subs didn't help. As long as there were lessons learned, Blackpool are a decent side. I like that Bloxham, and Albie was good. Yeah, Albie was decent yesterday. Some good set pieces. Moved the ball around. I think the moving away from the Valley is probably the best thing that ever happened to Albie, because he'd been here too long for us to assume there was ever going to be any consistency. He needed a fresh start, and that's gone well for him. So fair play to him. Yeah, Dave said we're so much better to watch. Almost exciting. That first 7 or 8 minutes of the second half was so exciting. Like when we scored, and then to score the second goal within 2 minutes, like that, there's nothing better than when you've had a tight first half and all of a sudden you're 2-0 up. I was on air trying to talk about the first goal when the second one went in, so I just absolutely lost the plot. Let's talk about the first one. So I misremembered it, actually. It was Berry's shot that was turned in the end by Godden, but it all came from Thierry Small down the right-hand side, came over, I think the keeper got a hand onto it, came back out, Doherty had the first shot, then it came back to Berry who hit it, and then old sniffer dog Matty Godden was there to score the goal that he's made a career out of scoring, Sue.
Yeah, he's a proper poacher, isn't he? I think he's one of them, like, that he just, yeah, he's, I mean, I watched his post-match interview, and I know, like, you're going to play it a bit later, but he's just that typical goal poacher. He's just there. And I love that about his game. What is he? Is he like on 10 or 11 now?
It's 11 now, yeah, 11.
Yeah, so it's like I'm so happy for him because obviously he's not always involved. Like he's been on the bench. They've switched up the front two pairing quite a bit, and I just think, yeah, you need someone like that in your team that can just get a go out of something really, really like scrappy and like that ping ponging about, and it's just like dink. So yeah, I loved watching that, and it was just, yeah, and the celebration was a sight to behold.
Yeah, he loved it. And then the second goal, TC doing bits once more, Ben. Like, again, I guess the end product is a thing that we always want to see more of from our wide players, or obviously TC who's like a striker / wide player at the moment. But that's what he got. I mean, it's obviously a horrible ball to defend, and yeah, that's what we want to see more of.
Yeah, massively, and I really enjoyed Doc in that play for the goal. The way he drives forward and draws the defender out of position to then slide it into TC. That's something we've been crying out for a lot during the season, where we've been saying we need our midfielders like him, like Berry, like Coventry. Instead of them being bypassed by our long balls, we're actually getting the ball and bringing the ball forward ourselves. And maybe we're seeing that now with confidence. We've gone 1-0 up. The players are like, all right, we'll keep taking it to them. And when we go 2-0 like that, we felt like we were in dreamland, didn't we? It's like suddenly everything's coming together at once. We're beating Blackpool away from home, who have been on a bit of a run of form themselves. And it all seemed amazing, didn't it? And as you said, with TC, he keeps getting himself in these positions, which is great because, again, earlier on in the season, we were crying out for someone like him and Thierry in those positions that just frighten defenders with their pace, with their trickery. And they get, I mean, TC always gets in behind the defence. It's just that last ball of either he cuts it back to someone, either he takes a shot himself, or maybe he does a step over and pulls it back and waits for a foul or something like that. So, yeah, I know it was an own goal, but obviously there, as I said earlier, it's so hard to defend against when you've got a pacey winger. You don't know what they're going to do. And yeah, and you've obviously, as Sue just said, you've got the fox in the box there in Matty Godden, who's like crying out for a little deflection or someone's shot that might be going in. So you've got that to worry about as well. But no, really pleased for him. And I think we'll probably go on to talk about it later, that kind of positions we need to strengthen. And I would say getting a like for like in like TC for, obviously he came off yesterday shortly after that goal, getting someone that's similar to him that can drive at defenders as well. I think it's something we desperately need, because when he comes off or when he's got tired, like I remember the Reading game when it was 0-0 and he was all over him, battering him, so good. But he got to like 60, 65 minutes, he was still getting in those positions and you thought, surely he's got to score. And then he was like putting it over the bar, falling to his knees, and you just thought, still getting in those positions, but he looks knackered. But we didn't have anyone to come on like him. So, yeah, I think that's something for later on in the show. But no, pleased that he got his goal and it's paying off for him at the moment.
Yeah, so it was 6. So we were the second goal was on 54 minutes. So 8 minutes later was the double sub. So Tyrese and Godden came off, and Anike and Kanu came on. Now, at the time, I was thinking, right, I mean, he obviously thinks it's sort of job done here, but you know, Michael saying earlier, were the subs too early? You know, did we need to do another 10 minutes where we were just on top and giving them that lot to think about? Now, I thought Dan came on and looked okay, like he's running. Chucks is not quite the Chucks of old, is he? He can be on his day, but he's not quite Chucks and EK of maybe even like a year or two ago when he'd come off the bench and look as lively as he did. But you know, I was seeing quite a few people asking if that just killed a bit of the momentum we have at the moment. When you made that sub, Sue?
I think hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I know I said to you off air, we've done subs on 60 minutes before and it's worked out really well. So I don't know. It's a difficult one to kind of say. Like, is it that you're making those two subs because you want to go for more goals? Like, it's just, I don't know, like, yeah, looking back now, you go, yeah, well, it probably was too early, but at the time, and when he's done it before, it's worked out well. So I'm not sure how you even sort of analyse that in. It's easy to say now because of what happened after, but like I've already said, we've done it before and it's worked out really well. So, and I think, yeah, you're right with Chucks. Like, he's not the player that he was before, but he's still a dangerous sub to bring on. And I think he has been out for such a long time this time that it is going to take. I mean, obviously he's doing training every day and they're managing him like that, but it's still really different. Like we saw with Miles, didn't we? It took him a while to get back into the swing of playing a match, because it's never the same in training, is it? A match is never going to be the same as training. So I would always bring Chucks on, but Dan, I'm not sure with Dan. I love Dan, but I don't know. I'm thinking about who else was on the bench that he could have brought on instead of Dan. But yeah,
maybe Miles Leeburn, who obviously didn't come on until the very end, I guess. But I think you would have very little sort of pace then at that point. Yeah. Right, let's have a listen to what Nathan had to say after yesterday's game. Caught up with the Addicts boss pitch side over at Bloomfield Road. Nathan, with a 2-0 lead, I guess you were hoping that would be 3 points, but wasn't to be today.
Yeah, really frustrating because I thought we were really good. You know, these are a really dangerous side on the counter-attack, and you can see what they did. They sit back in, waited for any kind of error, and then just they explode into the counter-attack, and we handled it really well. They had 1 or 2 hairy moments first off, but I felt a little bit if we'd had a bit more quality, tweaked a little few things at half-time, and then we were outstanding. Outstanding was so much in the second half and cruised into a 2-0 lead. Could have been more chances with situations, and then just a couple of moments of madness really, because we've allowed him to come inside the pitch, switch play, come back inside the pitch and switch play, and stuff we work on, and that's what really frustrates me. It's not just the second goal and the error, but the manner of the first goal, because it's stuff we preach, stuff we do well, stuff we really just hammer home, and that's a frustrating thing. This would have been a magnificent win, really would have. Any win here is a real difficult place to come. They don't lose many here. They're a really dangerous side, but I thought we were excellent. I just felt we've thrown 2 points away today.
It was a bit uncharacteristic. We've spoken a lot about how when your side get in the lead, they tend to stay there, but weren't themselves perhaps in the second part of the second half.
Well, it's just after the goal, but even then we didn't have any problem really. Like, it was more to do with just errors in terms of what we did, and we still went for the third. Could have had the third. I mean, Thierry was magnificent today and got in, you know, and just a little bit more composure, and we would have won that game. But the second goal, you know, is a big error, and it's not like Makamaka's been outstanding, but you can't do that. You know, just clear your lines and we win the game. But even just the manner of the first goal from structural point of view is really disappointing, because we've let someone inside the pitch once, they've switched it inside the pitch again, and it's stuff that we don't do, and that's a disappointing thing.
Don't get too high, don't get too low. It's still another game without defeat. You try and keep that run going.
Well, we've actually gone up a place. We've extended the unbeaten run. We still look a really good side. You know, we can score a goal and could have scored more, and probably should have won. You know, with more possession, more chances, more shots on goal. Their keepers made more saves. So it's been, statistically we've been good. On the eye we've been good. It's just I'm really disappointed to throw away a 2-goal lead, because that doesn't normally happen to us.
2 starts and 2 carbon copy goals from Matty Godden. Considering he hadn't started for a while, he's really fresh since he's come back in.
That's what we bring him in. I mean, he's a poacher. He's the goal thing, his movement, his quality, his intelligence, all the things he does, you know, and he's keeping some very good strikers out of the team, so he must be a good player. Yeah, and look, there's a load of positives today. It's just really difficult for me to talk about him when we just thrown a 2-goal lead away, because the feeling here is disappointment. I'm gutted, I'm down, I've got all those negative emotions, but when I sit down and when I watch the performance, when I look at us and when I look at the quality of chances we created and some of the performances out there, I'll be very proud of that performance. It's just, for probably 15-minute period, we just weren't us.
When you look at the table as well, I mean, you're a point out, you're outside the top 6 on goal difference. I mean, obviously it could be better, but it's not a bad position to be in at this stage of the season.
It isn't, and we probably would have taken that 10 games ago, in terms of, but what I'm saying is we're always searching to be better, always wanting to, and today we should have been in the playoffs. With a 2-goal lead, we don't throw away 2-goal leads, and that's the disappointing thing, and the manner of it, and that's the disappointing thing. We're in a wonderful position, we gathered momentum. We've got 2 home games to come now, and we've had some tough away journeys, and been unbeaten and been very good. But it's just an underlying feeling of disappointment, and I can't shake it yet. And I will, but I can't shake it yet.
Just finally, obviously, the fans will be curious if there's likely any movement between now and the end of the window. You said on Thursday you're hoping for some still.
Yeah, there'll be some movement. Just what we're working hard to get people in. But we've got to get the right ones in. It's really, really important that if we're going to add to this group, there has to be quality.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the river. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live on your Sunday morning. Just before the break there, we heard from the Addicts boss Nathan Jones after yesterday's 2-2 draw up at Bloomfield Road against Blackpool. I mean, you could hear the disappointment, and as I sort of said earlier on, Ben, he referenced the first goal quite a bit, like the lack of shape, which was obviously was really frustrating to him. But his job now is to put that behind him. I think after the Rotherham game, it was like that was a shocking performance. But what was different in that game, and what I think is still different in that game, it wasn't quite. There weren't patterns of stuff that has kept happening over the last few weeks. So when we lost to Crawley, and I was writing the season off, I was like, that's because we've been the same team for a few weeks now, and this result has been coming. Whereas yesterday, overall, we did okay, and the goals we conceded weren't really in character, and similar at Rotherham, which was obviously, we've won 3 times since then. So it's making sure that these performances remain out of character and don't come into character. That's what we've got to do. If yesterday had been the 5th time in a row it happened, I think that would be a very different interview.
Yeah, I think like earlier on in the season, I remember us talking about playoffs and we just couldn't see it because we were like trying to look at examples of games where you could go, oh, okay, yeah, but remember that performance. Like, we've got a few more of them in the bag. And we're like, well, we haven't, because it's not consistently and consecutively what we're doing in games. So you couldn't say that we're going to put a run together to put in there. Whereas, as you said, like, our clean sheets are something that we built a foundation on this season. So when you get a bit of poor defending, you go, that's such a shame. And you could hear it there with Nathan's interview. He's like seen such great defending this season and he's been so proud of it. To have those 2 goals conceded in the way that they were is really disappointing for him. But also he's looking at the positives. He's looking back at other games where we've kept teams out and gone, we can do it. We as a fan base have seen it. We're quite... as fans, we're quite impulsive to, at the end of the day, like we had 860 fans go up there yesterday. Straight away, you're disappointed. Like you were a night on the tiles going out in Blackpool thinking, oh, brilliant, we've won again. And to have it thrown away so late on in the game, you're gutted. And you immediately think, you look back at the lineup and go, what happened during the game? Oh, that's what happened. That's what went wrong. Whereas Nathan now can take time away, think of what we've been doing right. And as I said, I thought that first goal would be more on his mind because that's a goal that we work on all the time. and it's a big uncharacteristic mistake. Whereas with Macaulay's mistake, as I said, you're thinking just boot it away. He knows he's made that mistake. What can Jones do in that aspect? Well, you simply drop Macca if he keeps doing it. But every player knows in that position, you either boot it long or you have more communication in that defence. The only thing I'd say with that goal is Josh Edwards is right next to him. Is he shouting at him to clear it? Not shouting time, take a touch or anything like that. And if you're not hearing that from your defenders, you then boot it because you're facing your own goal. But yeah, look, there's obviously things we'll work on, which is great because we as fans are seeing so much better things now from this team as a whole. And maybe because we're seeing a lot more attacking threat from our team, that we lose out with the defensive aspect of it a little bit more. Maybe that's the case as well. But yeah, no, it was a really refreshing interview because I loved hearing how frustrated and gutted he was because we weren't feeling that before. Whereas now we're in a good position and okay, it slipped away, but our standards are higher now and our standards are higher as fans. So with that, when you do have a blow, it feels worse because you're actually thinking that could take us to the playoffs. If we're mid-table, that result, you just go, oh, well. But because our expectations are higher now, we're seeking better play. But we've also got to remember, this is a team in League One that last season conceded goals like that for fun.
Stuart says, I'm surprised we didn't have a massive game management head injuries once we went 2-0 up. I did tweet like we should have been going down at what point do we start going down every 15 seconds? That's why it's a bit more painful because they did that to us and they got away with it. So it's not in our nature, I guess. Like we don't. It's just a bit annoying. David said, I suppose apart from the top two clubs, those above us aren't consistent either. So Orient lost for the first time in a while yesterday, but that was against Stockport, who are obviously up there as well. Barnsley dropped points again. Was it Reading? Reading beat Bolton, so Bolton and Reading are sort of around us, just below us. So obviously there had to be a winner in that game, or a point each, or something. Did I say Barnsley dropped points against Burton? So there was some. I'm still trying not to look too much at the other teams. Everyone knows I'm a points per game merchant, and we're pretty much where we need to be. Okay, maybe a point or so behind where we need to be. So let's just worry about ourselves for now. When we get into the last 10 games, and we will focus more on who is above and below us and not the points per game, because that's when the averages sort of go out the window and you're pretty near to where you're going to end up. So that will be interesting as the season goes on. But yeah, as David said, Orient losing yesterday has got to be a good thing. Richie Welling's head loss after the game, I don't know if you saw, he had to issue an apology to Tottenham Hotspur because basically Orient picked up some injuries during the week. He was asked after the game if that played a part in their defeat yesterday, and it sounds like he said something along the lines of, "I'm not Ange Postecoglou. I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to use that as an excuse." Whilst having two of Ange Postecoglou's loanees in his starting 11, so he issued an apology after the game. So that wheels have come off at Orient. We'll write them off, thankfully. Let's have a look at a couple of the emails that came in. McSquared said, "It shows how far we've come under Nathan that we can be so disappointed at coming away from Bloomfield Road with just a point. It's a great pity we threw away a 2-goal lead, particularly gutting that defensive error has played a big part. It seems that Gillespie is now our most howler-prone player, although it's up to debate whether we currently have anyone else that could do a better job. On the plus side, we're now well and truly in the playoff shake-up, and the next two home matches are going to be crucial. They're both very winnable matches, even though Stevenage will be far from a pushover. If we can claim 6 points, we will almost certainly be in a very healthy position indeed." That's probably part of the question, actually, we should, when we were speaking about the Gillespie stuff earlier, Sue, is who replaces him? If he has to be dropped, I think left-sided centre-half, unless my mind's gone blank. Maybe Edwards coming in, and then Thierry going over, and then Mitchell coming back into the side, and then Ramsey going over. But that's a big shake-up from a side that overall has been defensively pretty sound. So, I mean, to answer McSquare's question there, have you got anyone else that would replace him?
No, other than what you've just said, with Mitchell coming back in and just moving everyone around a bit. No. I honestly, I feel like we just got to stick with him because I think different players respond differently, don't they, to mistakes. And the things that Macca brings to the side, like someone was saying earlier, like some of them passes are just sweet, and you ain't gonna get that from someone else. So I'm just, I would stick with him. I don't feel like he should be dropped unless we brought in someone in the window. I can't think, like what you're saying, I think is spot on. That would be the only change you could possibly make. And I don't know, maybe a couple of games out of the team might help. It might not. Like I say, you never know how players are going to respond to those sorts of things. Sometimes being dropped for a couple of games can help them out. Sometimes it's a bigger knock on their confidence. Like we looked at Lloydie last season and he got dropped. And it seemed to really affect his confidence. Whereas I think someone like Macca, you just got to stick with him. I would.
Yeah, right. I mean, a good question here from James. He was saying, how many of those players playing for us now would get into Lee Bowyer's playoff team? I don't think any. That's why I think we might just come up short, but I hope I'm wrong. So, I mean, I'm certainly not going to argue that this side's as good as the side that finished third. You know, I think we're a side that's gunning for sixth. You know, that's our aim at the moment, sixth or fifth. We're not a side that's going to just miss out on automatic promotion by a couple of points, which I think is what we ended up doing under Bow that season. So I think they're two very different sides. I think that's a fair point, but yeah, I think they're two different sides. I mean, I'm sure that there'd be all sorts of arguments in the chat going on about which players would squeeze in and which ones wouldn't. But you know, that's for another day. But yeah, I think we're a different type of team to that one, and we're not as good. That's just a fact. But we're trying to achieve something now, which 2 months ago we weren't. You know, and that's probably why we didn't see it coming 2 months ago as well, because we're not a side that could steamroll a second half of the season and finish third. You know, unfortunately. But we're working with what we've got at the moment. Right, let's hear from Matty Godden. So I still want to talk transfers. So get in your mind which players you'd like to see come in between now and Monday. It's tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, the window closes tomorrow evening. And nicknames. We'll come to nicknames as well, because when you listen to this interview, it's quite refreshing actually, because Matty knew who I was referring to, but you find out he's been given a nickname by some of his teammates. This is what Matt Godden had to say after we threw away that 2-goal lead up at Blackpool yesterday. Matty, sum up your overall feelings after that game. I mean, 2-0 up, and you expect to see it out from there, but it wasn't to be today.
Yeah, listen, the dressing room was gutted that obviously we couldn't hold on. I thought it was brilliant. It was almost a perfect away performance, and you can see how far we've come as a club and as a team over especially the last 2 months. You look at it, and it's definitely 2 points dropped, but before the game, Blackpool always a tough place to come. So you look at it, you probably take the point, but then with the situation that we was in at 2-0 up, you want to go away with 3. So that's the feeling in the dressing room. Yeah, one of the stats I've spoken about with Nathan quite a lot this season is the fact that when Charlton get ahead, they don't tend to drop points. I think that's only the second time they've done that. What would you put that down to today? No, it's just obviously that we was a little bit naive as a team, and we let them back into the game, and 2-0's it's a tough scoreline. 2-0, as silly as that sounds. It's you concede next, it's really game on. It's a horrible scoreline, but we still back ourselves to hold on to that lead, and we're disappointed that we couldn't. Could have won it at the end as well. There's a couple of chances really end to end after it went to 2-2. Yeah, that's the way they made the game. The gaffer said that to us. He said that to us since Tuesday, that they make this. They play the game like a basketball game. It's so end to end, and that's how it felt, especially first half, especially second half. Sorry, a little bit first half as well, and at 2-0 up, we just probably needed to just manage the game a little bit better, and and just try and see the game out in a nasty way. How does yourself, like as a senior player, and the manager manage the mentality after that? Because I can tell everyone's gutted, but it was another game without defeat. It's a good run in line with the playoffs now, just outside on goal difference. How do you sort of manage that? Yeah, that's it. We look at it now and we go, look. Well, we just had a little conversation then in the showers. We know we're in a real good place. We know how far we've come. The disappointment's there because of the circumstances around being 2-0 up. But like I just said, you come to Blackpool, and a lot of teams will lose here. Top teams will lose here, and even at clubs that I've been at before, we've lost here, and it's a tough place to come. So you come here and you probably look at it, and we take a point, and then we bounce into the next round of fixtures, and we've took 10 points from 12 again, and we're in a good place.
2 goals that were sort of carbon copies this week. Are they the signature Matty Godden types of goals?
Yeah, that's the sort of goals that I scored. The lads have given me nicknames in the dressing room of Killer and the Sniffer Dog, and that's how I've made a living, you could say, and they're the goals that I love. Obviously, you can score the goal that I scored at Rotherham, albeit in a defeat, but they're the goals that I really love. You can see by my celebration, I just love scoring them, waiting for someone to have a shot that's dragging wide to poke it in. That's my sort of goal, and yeah, like I said, I've done that for a few years now.
There was a famous Charlton striker in the 70s with the nickname Killer, so it's not a bad one to have.
Yeah, I know, I've heard of that. Someone told me that. Derek Hales, wasn't it? Yeah. So I mean, if the lads want to call me whatever they want, so.
Obviously, you've 2 starts in a row as well. You have to be patient. Obviously, Nathan wasn't making many changes because they're on such a good run. But I feel like you've looked really fresh since you come back in, really ready to go from the off.
Yeah, I was really unfortunate that I picked up not a nice illness just before Christmas, and but for the Northampton game, I wasn't very well, but. You got to do what you got to do, and then the lads go on a run, and there's nothing you can do. Just be patient, keep yourself fit, do some work after training that the starters won't do, and just keep yourself ready. And that's my mentality, and I know that if I get a chance in the 6-yard box, I'll back myself to score 90 times out of 100. So that's all it is for me.
There we go, Matty Killer Godden there speaking to me after the game up at Blackpool yesterday. I really enjoyed the fact he's got that nickname, Sue, because it just made me laugh. Because I know he used to come and watch us when he was a kid a bit. I don't think you'd describe him as a Charlton fan, but he knows Charlton. So the fact that he knew about Derek Hales made me smile, and the fact that he calls himself, well, he's been called Sniffer Dog, and Brownie called him that in the commentary as well. But so that's why I want to talk about nicknames. We spoke a bit earlier about how well Matty Godden's done, but nicknames. Alan's saying that Killer Hales would normally be in the bar after games, so there has been a bit of a change in that sort of mentality over the years. McSquare's emailed in one as well. Sweaty Barmer was a good one. Sue, have you got some favourite nicknames from back in the day?
I know it was weird because it wasn't really about his game, but we used to call Klaus Jensen, because he was always smiling. I was just trying to think of some other ones, that Sir Chris Powell, I guess, but that was more as a manager rather than a player, I think. Yeah, it's hard to remember, isn't it? I know I've seen some good ones in the chat that I was like, oh yeah, I remember that one. So I'll let you go through them ones. I don't want to take people's credit.
I'll go through them. Although David just points it out, Godden's a good goal scorer, but he's no Derek Hales. I always thought Killer Hales was because he was more like aggressive. I mean, obviously I never saw Derek Hales play. I always assumed he was called that because he used to get into fights and stuff. But anyone who maybe saw Derek a bit more than I did, fights with his own players at times, can remind me. But yeah, Matt, great one there. The Hermanator for Herman Haridason, and the BFG, of course, for Patrick Bauer. Smudger Smith, Paul from Paul there. Lyndon says Sir Matt Tees. Flash Flanagan, that was one I was aware of, obviously, because he had Killer and Flash up top at times, and then they started fighting. But other ones that came in the chat, Stuart said 50p Headley error. Yeah, that's a fair one, especially when he had to wear that hat. Fox in the box for Francis Jeffers. That's one he sort of came with, and then probably didn't massively earn during his time with us. Norman saying maybe we could give that one to Matty Godden. Now Dutchy's got one. Hexagon for Alan McCleary, another one before my time there, I think. Ben, do you want to chuck any more into the mix before I just go through the rest of them?
The main one that came to me was when we signed George Costa. He was called the Tank, and we saw
Andrew's done that one as well.
Yeah. So that was the main one that came to my mind, and I think I remember. Fans website once made t-shirts with players' faces on it, and I remember Steve Brown was called Mr. 110%, on there because obviously the song Brown won't let you down. So that's kind of one I can think of, but I can't think of any more to my head.
Yeah, I'm really curious as to who Alan Shepherd said was nicknamed Soppy Nuts. Because he's just put Soppy Nuts. So if anyone can remember who had the nickname Soppy Nuts, or how many hundreds of our players over the years could have had that nickname, unfortunately. Paddy Powell, obviously that's a really good one from for Colin Powell. Ian came up with a nice one for Scott Parker, Judas. I think if Terry was here, he'd be endorsing that opinion as well. Rambo Thompson, Steve Rambo Thompson from Andrew Roth there as well. So yeah, some really good player nicknames. If you can think of any for current players as well, then obviously like you get ones that are just their name, like Macca. But if you can think of any, let us know. Right, transfer window. Got 24 plus a few more hours. I'm not sure. I assume it's 11 o'clock tomorrow, but I don't know. I'm no sort of Sky Sports yellow tie sort of merchant, so I don't sit there massively paying attention to it. I'll have a look at what Richard Corley's tweeting, and then come 11 o'clock or whenever it closes, I'll see if we've signed anyone. I'm probably one of the worst people to host a football podcast because I have no interest in rumours. But the position, the sort of thing we want to talk about, I hammering home, I think we need someone who can come in and take the weight off Berry's shoulders. Someone said he thought he went underrated earlier on in the show, and he can pop up and he can do stuff, but I don't think he does it enough. So I think we need to be able to mix it up a little bit soon. I mean, do you have a preference for position? It is left centre back one we also need to go for as well, because we've just between us not been able to come up with someone who can come and take the pressure off Macca either.
Yeah, because I think actually you just saying that with Macca, maybe he does need someone to challenge for his position. Because I think when you was earlier on just talking about how that happened yesterday, maybe, and someone had said it in the chat about complacency, like we've had this really good run and maybe going 2 up, we got a little bit cocky. Don't know, but yeah, maybe someone to cover for Macca. And I agree with you, someone attacking midfielder. I think that's sort of similar to Berry but younger, because I think Berry, I still adore Berry. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's a bit older now and he necessarily can't do those 90 minutes. So yeah, I think they would be the two if you're going to bring anyone in. But again, I agree with what Nathan says. If they're not better than what we've already got, don't bother. Don't get bodies in for the sake of getting bodies in.
So we've got to this stage of the window, Ben. So any suggestion that we were certainly set on someone and it was a done deal, that's not happened. Okay, so you've got to balance it with we can't panic and just waste money, as Sue's just said there. But I mean, this is a huge opportunity for us, and we've got to take this. We are outside the top 6 on goal difference in February. Okay, that ain't happened for a long time. I would be absolutely gutted if there was a deal to be done out there and it was the right player that could get us in that top 6 and we don't do it. You know, you've got to balance it up. This is a big chance for us, and if we're 2 players short, if that's all that Nathan thinks we are, then get those. We have to get those 2 players and make this count, because we ain't going to be in this position every season as we've seen over the last few in League One, and I'm sick to death of being in League One.
Oh yeah, join the club, mate. Totally right. Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing you can think of is why this has taken this long is because of our sudden emergence of form. Were we trying to sign players that for the long term they might come good, but we're going to keep them like in the like under 21s or whatever, or just on the bench? Because it's quite hard, because I know we're all like crying out for signings, and we always are, but you can't guarantee someone's going to walk straight in this 11, because at the moment they're playing well. All the sides playing well, and you need an impact player to come on. As we said earlier, someone that can come on to replace TC, someone that can replace Luke Berry in those positions. And when we're not getting a goal, they can come on and liven us up a bit. Like like a Thierry Small has been for us. So, yeah, again, now we're with you on your plea there to just come on the board, please give us those players that we need, because we're so close now. And earlier on in the season we weren't. Now we are. This team's on form. If you can provide that competition for places and just fire us up, because I think we've got that up front now. I think if you think like last month, Miles Liban won Player of the Month for the whole league, and now he's on the bench. And Matty Godden scored 2 and 2, well 3 and 3, hasn't he, with the Rotherham game as well? And he's looking on fire. And you think, look at that competition for place. You then got Liban on the bench, who just won Player of the Month. And people are going, oh yeah, forgot about Miles. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? That's what we need more of. So if we can provide that, then brilliant. But I also think with Sue, we spent this window like getting rid of players that are on the fringe but aren't really pushing the side. So we don't need players like that. We've just got rid of some of them that aren't actually pushing us. So if we can like get some players that really fire this team, the competition for places up, then that will be perfect. So yeah, hopefully a couple of players in would be excellent. And I'd also say either a Hadmi or Kanu to go out on loan, because otherwise what are they doing? We don't need 5 strikers there. If we can have a recall on that, so if just in case we get injuries, but we need Daniel Kanu at this young age to be playing games regularly, to be getting goals. And if he's not going to get that here, then I'd rather have someone else on the spread the bench out and try and get some other players in.
Yeah, well, let's see how tomorrow plays out. I mean, James has just pointed out, is there like, might we get bids for Leeburn, or might we get bids for TC or Small? To be honest, that's again something I've not really been thinking about. But you never know what can happen on a deadline day. If someone tries to test our nerve with a bid, we'll see what happens. All will be said and done 11 o'clock tomorrow night. So we'll know where we are for the rest of the season. Let's just hope that we put ourselves in a position where we can actually challenge, because we're on the edge of it right now. Let's take this chance and see if we can do something in the second half of this season. Right, we've run out of time on this morning's Charlton Live. Thanks to everyone who's joined us this morning live on YouTube, or listen back, of course, on the podcast afterwards. Don't forget, we'll be back on Thursday then, so we'll be able to look back at whatever happens with our transfer dealing, then ahead to next Saturday's game. I think it's Stevenage, isn't it? The Valley, which is the early kickoff. So make sure you don't forget and turn up too late for the 12:30 kickoff next week. Sue and Ben, been an absolute pleasure as always.
Yep, thanks everyone. Good chat.
Thanks, guys.
Comments as well.
Yeah, great comments in the chat today. It's really kept us going. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and anywhere else you see your pod. But I'm Louis Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again on Thursday.
Charlton Live.